Good evening. I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. Our guest this evening is Bill Compton. Bill's been on the program before. He's a CFI and ATP, and I've got to tell you, I've found him to be one of the most knowledgeable people on fuel management and long-distance flights in GA aircraft. Bill admits to watching too many fly-in movies as a kid, which resulted in a lifelong fascination with airplanes. Bill had his private by 16 and he was CFI by 19. He's owned a lot of great airplanes, including a Cessna 180, Bonanzas, Barons, and currently a turbocharged Bonanza. Bill, welcome to Hangar Flying.
Well, thank you, Harry.
Nice to have you back on. I mentioned that, in my opinion, you're one of the most knowledgeable people I've met on flight planning, precise flight planning, and fuel management. Let's begin by you telling the audience about your long distance over water experience. What kind of flights have you done?
Well, back in the early 70s, I had a Bonanza with tip tanks, and it was a good long-range aircraft. I did non-stops down to Seattle area. Then I saw an ad for a cabin tank that would fit in a Bonanza, 110 gallons. And I thought, oh, if I had that, I could go to Hawaii. And so I picked it up, and I've had it ever since, and that's enabled my flights. And I learned AstroNav and navigated with that. And by that time, I had an ATP, and I was so impressed with that. I thought, I must know everything about this, and I just went. And I learned how little I really did know. And gradually, over many oceanics, I've gradually figured out the things that I'm here to talk about.
So, AstroNav, so that was before GPS then, huh?
Oh yeah, 75, yes.
Wow.
That's my first oceanic.
I'll bet GPS does come in handy now though, huh?
Oh, it's wonderful, yeah.
Talk a little bit about, we'll talk a little bit about how you flight plan.
Well, for a long-range trip, I have all the numbers planned out for the aircraft I fly. If I'm taking off at 3,800 pounds, I know that I'm going to climb to my cruise altitude and set power for the indicated airspeed that I want to fly for the first 33 gallons of fuel. And when my totalizer shows that I'm down 33 gallons, which is 200 pounds, then I decrease my airspeed by about 3 knots. And throughout the flight, as the fuel burns off and the airplane gets lighter, I gradually slow down. But as I slow down, I get more and more air miles per gallon. And air miles per gallon is really what it's all about. And I realize, and what's been known for a long time, that your nautical air miles per gallon is dependent on the indicated airspeed that you fly, your weight, aircraft weight, and your center of gravity location.
So let me interrupt you. With your airplane, 3,800 pounds, you take off, climb to altitude. What would be your typical airspeed you start out with?
Oh, indicated airspeed might be 140, and gradually down to about 125 by the end of the trip.
What about trade-offs? What are some of your considerations? I mean, there may be a situation where flying slower would give you better range, but it's impractical. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Absolute maximum range is gotten at the point where your angle of attack of the airplane flying through the air is such the drag of the lift that you're using is equal to the drag of what's called parasite drag, the friction against the airframe. And that'll give the best miles per gallon. However, it's far from perfect because the airplane's too slow. The fuel flow for that regimen in my airplane anyway is way below the fuel flow that the engine would be happy with. So what I do is take LD max and the airspeed for that, and I increase it by 16%, knowing that my miles per gallon penalty will be 4%. And then I maintain that balance between the two factors, and that allows me to maintain a constant angle of attack for the whole flight.
Bill, we've run out of time. What I'd like to do is get you back next time, and probably a couple of times, and let's start out that session with explaining a little bit about L over D max, which maybe some of our pilots out there haven't talked about since they were getting their license. But let's do that. Thanks for being on the program tonight, and folks, hope you enjoyed the program. Look forward to seeing Bill next time and continuing the discussion.